Hi everyone, this is Dr. Chhoda with Ignition Time and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. I believe the country is in limbo right now. At the time I'm recording this video, we are still waiting for the president to hopefully sign this bill. But the more time that goes by, the more unlikely it seems. And it seems like the president is doubling down on his position for the $2,000 stimulus checks. I'll give you the latest status of where things are right now. And I have to tell you that if you're depending on the PUA program, if you're a self-employed worker or a gig worker, if you're dependent on the PEUC program, which is a 13-week extension, unfortunately, your jobless benefits actually run out today. Yep, today. Now, keep in mind the 5,593 page bill that the president can sign to resolve all of this is with the president. It was passed by both the House and the Senate, and White House negotiators like Steven Mnuchin were actually involved in the creation of this bill. But unfortunately, it looks like this bill, if it's not signed, could lead to not only the expiration of the jobless benefits, but also a government shutdown within 48 hours on Monday. We do have some insight into the thinking of the president, and Lindsey Graham from South Carolina said that he spent some time with the president. He was actually golfing with the president, and he tweeted, "I'm convinced he is more determined," meaning the president, "he's more determined than ever to increase stimulus payments to $2,000 per person and challenge Section 230 big tech liability protection." And President Trump himself did indeed tweet about this. The president tweeted, "Why would politicians not want to give people $2,000 rather than only $600? It wasn't their fault. It was China. Give our people the money." Now, here's the problem. The president wasn't really involved in the negotiations at all, and the president could have made it clearer much sooner. Much sooner, he could have publicly announced it on Twitter. He could have essentially told both the Democrats and the Republicans that he would not sign anything without the $2,000 stimulus checks. And honestly, that would have saved us a lot of trouble. But instead, the negotiators from both sides, including the administration, I should say, from all three sides, ended up at $600, which, by the way, his administration, U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, and many top allies, including House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, including Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, essentially negotiated. And unfortunately, at this moment in time, the Senate, the United States Senate, is out until Tuesday of next week, which is past the government funding deadline. The president right now is at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach. And the president continued tweeting this morning. In fact, on your screen, you see some of the tweets from the president over the past 24 to 48 hours. A majority of the tweets from the president have been attacking the integrity of the elections, which is something that the president is extremely focused on. So the president, as you can see on your screen, did continue challenging the integrity of the elections. And, the president essentially is attacking the NDAA, for protecting third-party tech companies, and the president made his claims about the election. And there's one tweet from the president where the president pushed for the $2,000 stimulus checks. Here's a tweet from the president where the president is pushing for $2,000 stimulus checks. The president says, "I simply want to get our great people $2,000 rather than measly $600 that is now in the bill. Also stop the billions of dollars in pork." And again, to give you some insight into the president's thinking, here are the tweets from Lindsey Graham, who spent some time with the president. And Lindsey Graham also said both are reasonable demands. When he says both, he's referring to increasing stimulus payments and challenging Section 230. Again, could have saved everybody a lot of trouble if this was made clear before the House and the Senate passed this massive spending bill. Lindsey Graham now says, by the way, Lindsey Graham says this now after voting in favor of this bill. I just want to be clear. Lindsey Graham voted in favor of this bill, and Lindsey Graham says both are reasonable demands, and I hope Congress is listening. The biggest winner would be the American people. Pretty interesting character, Lindsey Graham. In the meantime, everybody, we have some real life consequences. We have some real life consequences about this decision from the president to withhold his signature. An estimated 11.3 million households, yes, 11.3 million households in the country are behind on rent and will not be able to pay next month's rent, according to the Census Bureau. Landlords have already filed hundreds of thousands of eviction notices at local courthouses across the country, and cases that are ready to advance as soon as the moratoriums are no longer in place. Not only will this cause a humanitarian crisis, this will also cause a medical crisis, because this will actually lead to a surge in the pandemic. An avalanche of evictions could add to the severe economic distress. On top of that, more and more Americans are going hungry. People are lining up at food banks in record numbers, and nearly 8 million, yes, 8 million of our fellow Americans have actually fallen into poverty since this summer. According to Michelle Evermore, who's an unemployment benefits expert, if President Trump signs the bill on Saturday, which means today, states will still need time to reprogram their computer systems to account for the new law. But unemployed workers would still be able to claim the benefits. But further delays could prove very costly, according to Michelle Evermore. States cannot pay out benefits for weeks that begin before the bill is signed, meaning that if the president does not sign the bill today, benefits will not restart until the first week of January. But they will still end in the middle of March, the 14th of March. Basically, that would trim the $300 a week and all the other unemployment benefits programs. It would trim them down from 11 weeks down to 10 weeks. In the meantime, President-elect Joe Biden weighed in and he warned of devastating consequences. Yes, devastating consequences if President Trump does not sign this bill today. Here's a quote from President-elect Joe Biden. It's the day after Christmas and millions of families don't know if they'll be able to make ends meet because of President Trump's refusal to sign an economic bill approved by Congress with an overwhelming and bipartisan majority. The abdication of responsibility has devastating consequences. This is a quote from President-elect Joe Biden. Now, I do want to remind our viewers and subscribers that President-elect Joe Biden, who's going to be inaugurated on the 20th of January, called the bill, I quote, a first step and down payment on more action needed next year to, I quote, revive the economy and contain the pandemic. He did say that he was heartened to see Congress heed Americans, heed our demands for compromise and come to a consensus on the stimulus. But the president-elect did say, and I'm quoting him, President Trump should join them and make sure millions of Americans can put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads in this holiday season. You will see this article on your screen from Fox Business, which says Biden calls on Trump to sign COVID relief bill amid battle over direct payments. President Trump has rejected the bill, calling for bigger stimulus payments and less wasteful spending. So there's a strong push from President-elect Biden. In the meantime, the world is changing around us. So on your screen, you'll see a tweet from Christopher Mims, who's a weekly columnist on technology for the Wall Street Journal. And Christopher reported that the pandemic has radically accelerated perhaps the biggest underlying trend in our economy. It is dematerialization. What that basically means is that essentially everything is becoming more and more digital. Brick and mortar stores, the regular place where you go and show up and shop face to face, is likely the trend of us sort of moving towards online shopping, moving towards remote work has significantly accelerated. Media has gone completely digital. I mean, yesterday my wife and I and my kids and my in-laws and my mom, we saw the Wonder Woman movie on HBO Max. Normally you would only be able to see a movie like that in the movie theaters. So everything has changed dramatically. That was just a small example, but fundamentally the digital economy is already here, and what probably could have taken 5 years, 10 years, 15 years has now happened in a span of months. Stores have become fulfillment centers. In other words, stores are now becoming warehouses to ship stuff and to send stuff digitally. And this could be the end of the office. I know one thing for sure, it is the end of business travel. I used to do a lot of traveling, and now for me, the threshold for travel is very high. I'm not going to travel unless it is absolutely essential for me to be in a different place. I'd rather just do the meeting over the phone or on Zoom. All this is happening while we as Americans are waiting for the president to make a decision. Look, the president has surprised us before. The president has shifted his position before. So I don't think we should rule out surprises from the president just yet, because surprises do happen. And here's a tweet on your screen from Jake Sherman over at Politico. And Jake said, it would have made sense to know what Lindsey Graham is saying during the negotiations. So what do Republicans think about this? I did do another video on our channel talking about the Republican Senator Roy Blunt, who's a number 4 most powerful Republican senator in the Senate. And he basically said, Roy Blunt from Missouri, he basically said he hopes that the president signs the bill, and he felt that would be the simplest solution. Well, we've heard from a Republican congressman from Colorado. His name is Ken Buck. He was interviewed on Fox, and he said some things that I thought were very interesting. Let's take a look at the first segment with this interview with Ken Buck, Republican congressman from Colorado. And he said, stop funding foreign projects in a relief bill. Cut out all the extra pork and simply take that money and give people $2,000 stimulus checks. Again, would have been nice to discuss this, would have been nice to know this before Congress passed this massive bill right before Christmas. But let's take a look at what Buck had to say, and let's roll the tape.
With the clock ticking down, as you mentioned, for a relief bill to be passed by Congress, let's check in with a member of Congress. It's Ken Buck of Colorado. He's also a member of the House Judiciary Committee and a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us. You heard there from David Spunt that Nancy Pelosi is going to put it to a vote, increasing those checks from $600 to $2,000. How will you vote on that potential bill?
I absolutely in favor of giving the American people $2,000. I think it's the right move. I think the president's absolutely right. But that's only part of what the president is suggesting. Nancy Pelosi gave the members of the House just a few hours to read 6,000 pages of legislation. She did that because she had stuffed this bill full of pork. We are funding, in a COVID relief bill, we are funding 2 new museums to women's history. We are funding social engineering programs in Pakistan. We are funding a panel to examine the succession of the Dalai Lama. All sorts of pork projects in this bill. What the president is saying is, make America first. Bring America, make America the priority. So stop funding foreign projects in a COVID relief bill. Knock that out. And take that money and use it to fund and give the American people a $2,000 check. If Nancy Pelosi does that, I think she'll get overwhelming Republican support. She'll certainly have my support. But just to add a $2,000 payment instead of a $600 payment to the pork that's in the bill is just unacceptable.
But is she going to do that, Representative Buck? Is she going to take the pork out of there and all the programs that she loves? I guess I'm curious, is that what the bill's going to look like?
Well, once again, she gave us 6,000 pages in a few hours to read it. I'm sure we won't have a chance to read this bill before we vote on it, and the Democrats will vote for it. The Republicans want to see the bill. If she strips the pork, if she stops giving her pet projects in the United States and overseas this money, she will get Republican support. But it takes more than just an hour of debate to understand a bill like this and to fully examine it. So I would hope that she would start sending this bill out and letting people know that all these terrible projects are being stripped from the bill and that the American people are going to benefit. This is just a play that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are making to try to win votes in Georgia. Let's just be upfront about that. And it's a very cynical play because it deals with something that's very important to the American people.
In the second segment, Buck was asked to specifically clarify, hey, are you in support of adding $2,000 stimulus checks to what's already there? And he basically said, hey, when you take away the wasteful spending, then we can add the $2,000 stimulus checks, because what the congressman is trying to do is have his cake and eat it too. Give the $2,000 stimulus checks and prevent wasteful spending. Well, all of this was supposed to be done by now. All of this should have been done in the past. All of this should have been done before Congress passed the bill, before all these programs expired. So I personally think it's ridiculous that we're even talking about this right now. I think it's a failure of Congress, and I think the president and his representatives should have brought up all this. The president should have said, I want $2,000 stimulus checks or I'm not signing the bill. He should have said that 2 weeks ago. The president should have said, I'm not going to sign a bill that has pork and wasteful spending in it. He should have said it 2 weeks ago. And then the negotiators would not have allowed that stuff to creep into the bill. But again, let's take a look at Congressman Ken Buck, Republican from Colorado, who's trying to have his cake and eat it too. And he says, we'll support $2,000 stimulus checks only if the pork is removed from this bill. Keep in mind, it's not as easy as it sounds, because the moment you open up the bill, everyone's going to start to pick the whole bill apart, and then we'll open up a can of worms and nothing will happen in the next few days. It could take weeks, and that is simply not acceptable for us at this point. So, sometimes, and I've mentioned this before on my channel, perfect is the enemy of the good. And I think this is not the time for us to try and have a perfect bill. It's simply not. A lot of us have run out of time. I'm a big believer in what I call the 80-20 rule. When the need is urgent, you've got to get it 80% right. You cannot try to get the last 20% right, because the incremental benefit of the final 20% has the potential to sabotage the entire 80%. which is exactly what is happening right now. Let's roll the tape and see what Ken Buck had to say. Let's watch.
Well, we know that's what they do. They did the same thing before Election Day. Congressman, is there a way to separate the two bills, the $900 billion for COVID relief from the $1.4 trillion omnibus bill, which much of this is contained in? And the urgency created for COVID gives an opportunity for all the pork, as you're talking about. Is there a way to just do COVID, as Republicans have talked about for months, at an even higher number than $600, and then debate the rest of that stuff later, or at least get a chance to cut it out?
It's a great point, because Nancy Pelosi actually had brought other kinds of pork to stop this bill from being passed before the election. She wanted to help fund the failing pension systems in California, New York, New Jersey, and other blue states. She was involved. She wanted to make sure that the president didn't get a win before the election by sending out a check to the American people. So she has stalled for months to make sure this bill didn't pass. And now, on the eve of this bill passing, she is going to refuse to take out the pork that's necessary to fund an additional payment that the president is asking for the American people.
Congressman, just a point of clarification. I want to move on to ask you about the coronavirus vaccine, but just as a point of clarification, it sounds like when you're answering Rachel and Pete's questions, your support for the $2,000 increase is tied to reducing the pork in the government spending bill. If that's not accomplished, if Nancy Pelosi won't take that out, I'm reading between the lines, then you will not vote for an increase in the COVID relief checks?
I will not vote for an increase in the COVID relief checks that places a huge burden on our grandchildren to pay back the national debt, the $30 trillion in national debt that we have already accumulated. Absolutely not.
All right, thank you for clarifying where you'll vote on those bills that possibly look like they're coming in the next couple of days.
That's it, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about everything that's going on right now, about the country being in limbo, about the comments from Ken Buck, the Republican congressman from Colorado. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. You'll find a link to all of our resources in the description section below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I want you to know that you are greatly appreciated. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, it's about the economy, and it's about your money. We work very hard on this channel to bring you important information that's impacting the country, the economy, and your money. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. If you don't know anything about me, check out my video right here. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. Please click like. Please subscribe, please enable notifications. That really helps out the YouTube algorithm. And that is your way of essentially telling YouTube that you find our content useful. Now, you can get on our SMS alerts mailing list. Simply get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000, that's 70000. You'll get added to SMS alerts list. You can opt out of the SMS alerts at any point in time going forward. We'll send you breaking news and alerts, important information about the country, about the economy, and about our money. I want our viewers and subscribers to know that for me, it's not about the red or the blue. It's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat. I'm not Republican. I'm American. For us, it's all about trying to understand how the country works so that we can make sense of this unusual, this bizarre world that we live in. You can also get added to our email list. Simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts. And then you can get on our email list. Now, you can opt out of the email list or the text message list at any point in time that you want. Keep in mind that YouTube does not always send out notifications on time. So all I want you to do is simply bookmark youtube.com/ignition time. That's youtube.com/ignition time. And then you'll be able to visit the homepage of our channel and check out our videos at any point in time that you want. So I think you'll find that extremely valuable. One of the things that I'm extremely proud of is our community. Our community is very intelligent, very respectful, it's bipartisan, it's growing rapidly. So please comment below and engage with our community. You might make some new friends in our community. Also, if you find this video helpful, please share it with just 2 friends or family members. My only request is share this video with 2 friends or family members. By the way, speaking of subscribe, if you click on the little subscribe button on the bottom right-hand corner here, you simply click twice and you'll be able to get subscribed to our channel. So you'll be able to get instant alerts from YouTube moving forward. Now, Also, this is important. If you want to learn more about the resources that we use in our videos, simply check out the description section of our videos. We mention our resources in every video in the description section, so definitely make sure you check out the links in the description section below. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Please click like, please subscribe, please ignite that like button because the name of our channel is Ignition Time. I really appreciate you watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.